Tegan, how could the Roe v Wade decision affect us here in Australia, if at all?
So I spoke to one of Australia's leading gynecologists about this about a month ago on the Health Report when the leaked decision had been leaked. And she said that it probably won't have a big change on legislation here in Australia. Abortion is legal in Australia. It has been in every state since last year when South Australia joined the rest of the country on this decision. But she did say it will send international signals to countries about what the US's stance is on abortion. And she made the point that worryingly, it could have a big impact on access for women in developing countries because the US is one of the biggest funders of reproductive health care aid worldwide. And so what that does for people not just accessing abortion but reproductive health in general and the way those bodies are funded, there's a really heavy reliance on the US, and there's concerns about what this will mean in developing countries.
Tegan, on to other matters in health. A Centre for Disease Control for Australia. Why is this back in the spotlight and what could it look like?
So we started thinking about the Centre of Disease Control in Australia, and when I say we, I mean probably the general punters in Australia. We probably hadn't given it a lot of thought before the pandemic, when we really realised how differently different states and territories were approaching the public health measures with that. But it's actually a conversation that's been ongoing in Australia for about 50 years. It's back in the spotlight because the Labor Party had it as one of their campaigning points during the election campaign. Obviously they're in now, and so people are waiting to see what's going to happen with the Centre of Disease Control. And really the purpose of it is to bring together data from around the country, that it's centrally held and analysed, and then those public health depending on how the Centre is structured, those public health directives are then kind of issued from there, or that advice is given from a central repository, which makes a lot of sense. Another benefit of a Centre of Disease Control that is nationwide is that it provides a bit more equity of access to some of the bigger analytic capabilities that some of the richer states and territories might have access to, but some of the smaller states and territories might not have the capacity to do on their own.
There's been further research into heart health and stroke care in Aboriginal women. How is this conducted and what have they found?
This is such a lovely piece of research because what they did as the starting point was they went out and spoke to Aboriginal women and asked them, what do you need to have a healthy heart? What do you need to have a healthy brain? And the sorts of responses that they got were things like connection to culture, family and country. And then when they looked at the data, they found that that was true. And so they're now using this insight to help women to be protected against risk factors for heart disease and stroke. Of course, in the medical model, we know that things like high blood pressure and cholesterol and smoking all play a part in that. But approaching it from this real cultural lens is a motivator for people it gives people a reason to take part in these medical interventions, because we know with colonisation, Western medicine is fraught for many Aboriginal people. And so this is perhaps a different model of approaching it to help people to engage with healthcare in a way that feels meaningful to them.
And Tegan, finally, monkeypox, the World Health Organization not yet ready to declare it a global health emergency.
Right, so there's a certain category that the WHO can it's a lever that they can pull, I suppose, a legal lever, calling something a public health emergency of international concern, and they voted last week to not call monkeypox that. As a reminder, back in January of 2020, they said it wasn't with COVID, and then a week later they changed their mind and said it was. And so if they do declare it that, it gives the Director General certain powers to make advice to countries and that sort of thing around how to manage the outbreak. They say that they need more information before they can call it that. But a reminder that monkeypox is worrying. It's in a lot of different countries, but it's not spreading at the scale that coronavirus was and is. And so even though it sounds worrying, it is quite a different beast.